Thank you, Shelley. Shelley Ray is Deputy Chair of the National Australia Day Council. And as Shelley so eloquently put it, this place, this dawn hour, is absolutely magical. Jack Thompson has a special affinity with this place. Jack, where does this affinity begin?
It began in my childhood. I went to a little school in Wentworth Falls, and I went later to what is now the Blue Mountains Church of England Grammar School. And I fell in love with the place then. It was always a very special part of my childhood. But more recently, I became a partner in the wonderful Hotel Gearin at Katoomba, the old railway hotel.
You've bought into a pub.
I did. It's a sort of an Aussie dream, isn't it? And it's become a wonderful meeting place, a wonderful place for music and for dance. It's got the largest entertainment capacity in the Blue Mountains.
Now, you've read a bit of Banjo Paterson there, which describes this landscape absolutely to a T, doesn't it?
It does indeed. A man who obviously loved the land that he lived in and was eloquent about it, as we all know from his other poetry.
It captures the eerie quietness of this place too, doesn't it?
It does. It captures something extraordinary about the bush, the sense that you are in a very real and powerful presence, and at the same time that it is totally still, a kind of very special stillness.
I mentioned in my introduction there the crossing of the Blue Mountains by Blaxland, Lawson and Wentworth in 1813. What do you know about that and that expedition?
Oh, we learned about it at school, but I became more interested in it later. I know that initially the explorers set out and they were defeated by these extraordinary sandstone ramparts that they came to at the end of every valley. And they
were blocking the development of Australia.
Well, yes, at that time they were unable to move further out from the settled areas around Sydney, Port Jackson as it was called. And they discovered actually that there were cattle getting away into the bush. It was the first clue, and they couldn't find them. They followed some of the cattle tracks and they realized that the cattle were naturally following the ridges. In fact, when they got to the other side of the mountain, there was quite a herd of wild cattle.
A herd of cattle waiting for them.
Indeed, ready for them. Yes, Cox, who put the first road through, said, it's unbelievable, there's pasture and there are cattle there already.
And of course that opened up the interior of Australia from Sydney. Tell me your thoughts though on the impact, the broader impact I was mentioning too on the Indigenous people of Australia.
Well, it must have been quite extraordinary. I mean, imagine living in the world of the Aboriginal people of Australia, the most ancient continuous cultural system on the planet to this day, and day after day living their life. And one day, one or two of them looked out and there was this kind of dirty white sail, a creature they could not have possibly imagined that brought us here for the first time. And since then, the impact has been extraordinary, devastating for them, and very nearly a complete devastation. But it hasn't been a complete devastation. They remain alive and with us and bring their culture to this day, and it's something that we are able to share. That's what reconciliation is, the sharing of that.
Yesterday afternoon we were introduced to the area by several Aboriginal park rangers who seemed to be enthusiastic about the idea that Aboriginal culture has a lot to say about 21st century life in Australia.
I'm sure it does have. I'm sure it does have. Apart from anything else, it's their capacity to live in balance with the world around them. They had lived here all of that time. During that time, we had devastated the forests of Europe in our search for fuel, in our creating navies and searching into the new world for more wood, for more of what we had, a lot of which we had lost in Europe. For them, they had lived right through that period in balance with the world around them, and without creating enormous piles of rubbish, and without a waste problem, and without a climate problem. We have a lot to learn from them.
And Auntie Carol there mentioned in her Welcome to Country about the couple of I think, yards up the ladder, precious yards up the ladder of reconciliation. You've been a long-time champion of the process of reconciliation. What are your thoughts on the progress towards that?
I think we have made a couple of yards. I think, in fact, we've made some giant steps toward reconciliation. They are giant steps on a long road. And in the generations ahead, we will come to understand each other as the true equals we are.
Now, you recently recorded some of Banjo Battison's poetry. What does that do for your sense of reverence for the land, your sense of seeing the land?
It reinforces my love of this place, and it reinforces my reverence for this extraordinary beauty that we're surrounded by.
And do you ever get up in the morning and watch the sun come up like this, as it just has come up over the ridge just now?
I do. I don't come here to this wonderful lookout, but I would if I could. It's the most extraordinary place.
Jack Thompson, great to speak with you, and thank you so much.
You too, mate. Thank you.
It's actor Jack Thompson, and we'll hear from him a bit later on. Emma Donovan has established herself as one of Australia's leading Indigenous singer-songwriters, and she's here to perform a song that gives her sense of belonging to this land, and it's a song inspired by her grandmother, and it's called Gumbayngirr Lady.
Pictures in my head remind me time and time again. Memories come freely, yeah, over and over in my mind, yeah. Stories you used to tell me, whispered, said they whispered in my head. Your presence surrounds me softly, and I know that you are near. Oh, Gumbayngirr lady, hey, hey. Oh, this is where I'm from. This is where I belong. I hear your voice, it's calling me through the valley and beside the sea. I know you'll always walk beside me through every step I make. There's no give or take. Oh, Gumbayngirr lady, hey, hey. Oh, this is where I'm from. This is where I belong. You continue to guide me through whatever comes unexpectedly. Said your love is all I need to help me feel my dreams. Hey, oh, Gumbayngirr lady, yeah, oh, said this is where I'm from. This is where I belong. Oh, Gumbayngirr lady, Gumbayngirr lady.
Whoa. Thank you, Emma Donovan, with that beautiful tribute to her grandmother.